Welcome back. I took a couple of days off there. I went on this 8-hour hike up a mountain, came back looking like Jeremiah Johnson, and yeah, I'm pretty sore head to toe. Let's do this. Let's talk about grading the Boston Bruins during the pause. Now, before we get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about the Arizona Coyotes. Now, the last team I graded was the Buffalo Sabres over there, and I've been shooting these videos in reverse alphabetical order, grading all 31 NHL teams, so I'll throw up a link up top over the next few minutes of the most recent clubs that I've shot, so you can view them at your leisure. Of course, you can also find them very easily in my playlist. Now, the Bruins. I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I was born there, but I went to high school in Massachusetts. Yeah, that's right. I'm a masshole. And I have a lot of masshole friends, too. So there's no other team in the league I have such a love-hate relationship with. It's amazing. Gonna be a lot of emotion in this video. Get ready for it. Now, this whole team improved, which is hard to fathom because they did so well last season. Of course, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, lost by a hair. And there wasn't that many changes made to this team. Now, Marcus Johansson, he left. He signed with the Buffalo Sabres. Noel Acciari, of course, signed with Florida. Had a 20-goal season. And one of them was a hat trick against Toronto. It's like even the players that leave Boston continue to torment my team. Why? Now, arrivals. Before I start crying, Ritchey, who played 27 games this season. He's in the minors now. He didn't really turn out. They also got Par Lindholm, who used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's a great face-off guy, great on the penalty kill, doesn't put up many points, but he definitely helped improve their special teams. Now, Don Sweeney, what did he do in terms of trades? Not much in that category either. He didn't make a trade until this deadline day, since last trade deadline day of last season. Of course, there was the Cocche trade, the right winger who they plopped on their second line to fill that hole that never seems to be properly bandied up there. Of course, he sent David Backes and his big contract the other way. That was huge. Prospect, right shot defenseman Alex Anderson, who I think was ranked number 5 or 6 in the prospect pool. And then they also sent him a 2020 first-round pick. So it was a big price to pay. But if Cocche doesn't turn out, at least, I think he's only signed for one more year at just over, $2 million, something like that. And then there's Nick Ritchie, who they picked up as well from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Danton Heinen. Sandpaper guy, former first-round draft pick, hasn't really turned out. But, he brings some toughness to the team. We'll see if he lasts with the Bruins. Now, in terms of how their season went, they killed it almost all year. With the exception of maybe they had a little bit of a rough December and January. They did win their last game before the pause. They were 7-3-0 in their last 10, finished with 100 points, best in the league, President Trophy, sort of, asterisk, whatever you want to call it, still. And speaking of, I'm going to throw some stats at your face really quick here, just to show you how well they've done. Now, starting with their special teams, the power play was 2nd overall in the league. It was 3rd last year. They improved it. The penalty kill was 16th last season. It's 3rd this season. Man. And remember, last year's playoffs, they were number 1 on the power play as well. It's unbelievably lethal. It's like, as soon as it steps on the ice, you're like, oh boy, here we go. You just cannot take penalties against Boston. Now, wins, they were 1st in the league. They were 3rd last year. Points, they were 1st in the league. Were 2nd last year. By the way, they were also, in terms of points, they had 6 more than the 2nd place St. Louis Blues, who played one more game than them. Yeah. Goals for, they were 8th in the league this season. 11th last season. Goals against, they were 1st this season. They improved from last season when they were 3rd. Wowzers. Now, the face-off win percentage, just to top it off with a cherry here, they were 10th last season. They were 7th this season. Of course, Bergeron's one of the best in the league. Par Lindholm isn't bad either. Now, a couple of quick notes for you here, mostly to do with David Pastrnak. Of course, he was third in the NHL in points with 95, tied for first with goals with 48 with Ovechkin, and Brad Marchand is the next best Bruin player on the league leaders list, ranked at number 6 with 87 points. Pasta is also 4th in the NHL in power play goals. Marchand is 10th. Pastrnak also led the NHL in power play goals with 20, which was 4 more than the second place Leon Draisaitl. Again, just the most lethal power play there. Pastrnak, more pasta. He's also tied for first in game-winning goals with Draisaitl at 10. And then I found this really interesting about the Boston Bruins. Their opponents are the most penalized in the league. Let that sink in for a second. And I should have checked this stat for last year's playoffs too. But they also take the 6th most penalties in the NHL as well. So there's that. Now, let's talk about injuries. Of course, they had their share throughout the year, especially on defense there. But the only lingering injury they have, of course, is with Kevin Miller, their right-shot defenseman, who's 32 years old. He'll be 33 in November. He's been on the LTIR all year long. He hasn't played. He probably won't. I think that's the end of his contract too, so you may not see him again in a Bruins uniform. Let's talk about some individual players, starting with the goaltenders, beginning with Tuukka Rask, one of the dynamic duo, 6'3", 176 pounds, 33 years old, just had a birthday in March. He signed for one more season at $7 million, worth every penny. Of course, in 41 games this year, he had a .929 save percentage. Just a comparison, last season, 46 games, .912. So getting Halak just really improved, and playing less. Of course, it's also made him really ripe for the playoffs, because in 24 games in the playoffs last season, he had a .934 save percentage. He was unbelievable. Yaroslav Halak, his Robin to the Batman. He's 35. Just had a birthday in May. Re-signed for one more year after a 2-year contract would be finishing this season. And he signed for less at just over $2.2 million, because he knows he's got a good chance at winning another cup, right? That's obvious. And in 31 games, he had a .919 save percentage. 40 games last season, he had a .922 save percentage. He's been unbelievable. It's hard to believe this is the same goalie with the New York Islanders who had a .908, but that was before Barry Trotz got there, and they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. So maybe you can't blame them too much for that. Now let's talk about defensemen and the top point getters. Starting, of course, with Troy Krug, who had a little bit of injury issues this year. He's also number 4 in points on the team. He's 28. He'll be UFA at the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see how they re-sign him. 61 games. He had 9 goals, 49 points. Was a -4, which is a worst amongst all defense. Averaged 20-29 a game. Second on this list here in defensive points is Charlie Mcavoy, of course. The 22-year-old in 67 games had 5 goals, 32 points. Plus 24, impressive. Averaged 23-10 a game, most on the team. Then there's Matt Gritslick. He's usually a third-pairing defenseman, but he played a lot of second-pairing minutes this season. He had 21 points, plus 15, averaged just over 18 minutes a game. Brendan Carlo, who's usually that second-pairing defensive D. He'll take over once Chara goes, whenever the hell that'll be. He keeps on playing and playing. Carlo's only 23. He re-upped as well on a new contract. He played 67 games, 19 points. Not bad for a defensive D. Plus 16, averaged 20-29 a game. And then, of course, how can I not mention the Man Mountain Chara and 42 games. That's his age. 68 games. He had 14 points, respectable, plus 26 that is the best on the team. And I think that's top 10 in the league, too. He averaged just over 21 minutes a game. Wow, at that age. Now, I just wanted to touch very quickly on some other prospects who actually played games. I just don't have enough time for the other ones, unfortunately. Starting with Jeremy Lauzon, who at 23 years old, he had a birthday in April. He's a left shot D, 6'1", 204 pounds. More of a defensive guy. He played 19 games, had 2 points, plus 5. And this is his second season playing with the Bruins, playing some games with the Bruins. He had 16 games last season, had 1 goal, and was a -1. Now in 45 games in the AHL this season, 1 goal, 13 points, plus 22. Look for him to crack the lineup on a more regular basis next season. And then, of course, I got to talk about Urho Vakanainen, if I said that properly. He's ranked number 2 on their prospect list, by the way. Also a left shot defenseman, 21, be 22 in January, 6'1", 185-pound Finn. He played 5 games for the Bruins this season. Had no points, but was a +2. He played 2 games last season, 0 points, -1. In the AHL this season, 54 games, 14 points, +18. Everyone predicts that he will get on this team next season as well. Now, let's talk about the forwards, starting with their leading point getters. Of course, Pastrnak is first at age 23. He played all 70 games, 48 goals, 95 points, +21. Averaged 18.58 a game. Then there's Brad Marchand, who at 31 years old, he doesn't seem that old, played all 70 games too, had 28 goals, 87 points, +25, the best amongst all forwards, averaged 19.27. Also the best amongst all forwards in that category. Then there's Patrice Bergeron, their first-line center, age 34, still going strong, played 61 games, 31 goals. Kind of like sneakily scored over 30 there. 56 points, +23, averaged 18.44 a game. Of course, one of the best face-off men in the league. And then there's their second-line center, Krejci, who's a little overpaid there at $7 million. Yeah, I think it's only for 1 more season, so there's that. He's 33 now in 61 games, 13 goals, 43 points, $7 million. +14, average 17.10 a game. Still a good player. I'm not knocking that. It's just that I think he's overpaid, obviously. And then there's Charlie Coyle, who they brought over from Minnesota last season. A hometown boy, centering that third line spot, although you might see him platooning the second line at times. He's also on the first power play. Age 27, he resigned a big contract, maybe a little long in the tooth there. I think it's just for over $5 million a year. He played all 70 games too. 16 goals, 37 points, respectable, +9, average 16.47 a game. Some other forwards I want to talk about. I cannot touch on Jake DeBrusk here. Usually their second line left winger, but played a lot of games on the third line as well. He had a bit of an off season, age 23. He'll be 24 in October, 6', 188 pounds. And in 65 games, he had 19 goals, 35 points, and was a -1. Last season in 68 games, 27 goals, 42 points, +2. So, bit of a step back there. Now, in the playoffs last season in 24 games, 4 goals, 11 points, +4. Nice. Now, let's talk about Andre Cocche, who they traded for from the Ducks. He's 24 years old. Right winger. He's the guy they're plugging in on that second line spot there. 6', 190-pound Czech player. And in 6 games only, he had 1 assist. ± was a 0. I guess it's up to how he plays in the playoffs now to see if Boston's got something there with this guy. In 49 games with the Ducks, he had 7 goals, 23 points, -7. At least I think he's only signed for 1 more season at $2.6 million if he doesn't turn out. Then there's Nick Ritchie, who they also got from the Ducks, former first-round pick, 10th overall, 2014. Age 24, will be 25 in December, 6'2", 230 pounds! There's my UFC announcer voice. In 7 games for the Bruins, 1 goal, 2 points. Okay, -2 though. 41 games for the Ducks, 8 goals, 19 points, +3. Hey, +3 on a Ducks team. Have you seen them, where they are in the standings? That's not atrocious by any standards, but the best points stat season that he had was in 2016-17, where in 77 games he had 14 goals, 28 points, +4. Yeah, remember, former first overall pedigree. Now he's signed for one more season at just under $1.5 million, so not a big deal if he doesn't work out either. Let's talk about prospects, starting with their number one ranked prospect, Jack Stadunka. I think I'm saying that correctly. 21 years old, had a birthday in February, 6 foot 171 pounds, plays center, can also play wing, played 2 games with the Bruins, had 1 point, was a +2 in 60 AHL games. He had 23 goals, 49 points, +9. Pretty decent. A lot of a lot of people are predicting, insiders are predicting that he'll crack the team next season. Maybe, just maybe, he'll get that right wing spot on the second line and then eventually take over Krejci's spot. That's what I would think would happen with this prospect. He's looking good. And then there's Trent Frederick, who's ranked number 4 overall on the prospect list. He's 22. He's also a center, 6'2", 203 pounds. And he only played 2 games with the Bruins, no points, -1 in 59 games in the AHL. He had 8 goals, 32 points, +10. He's a responsible player, maybe like a third-line plugger. This is the second season he played some games. He had 15 with the Bruins last season, no points, -4. So maybe he might need an extra year in the AHL before he makes it. We'll see. And lastly, I want to touch on Zach Senation, if I'm saying that one right as well. 6 foot 192 pounds, age 23, just had a birthday in March. He plays, he's a right winger, and he had 4 games with the Bruins, 2 points, +1, okay. And 42 games in the AHL, 7 goals, 16 points, +4. Yeah, he's ranked number 8 overall on the Bruins prospect list. We'll see if he can make it next season as well. There you go. How do I rate this team? I got to give him an A+. I think Colorado was the only other team I gave that high of a grade to. I don't see why not. They were amazing last year, and they still found a way to improve in most categories. I would love to hear your grade down in the comments section down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and be nice to each other out there, please. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.